Hi friends, what an exciting day. I am excited to present Natasha Denona's newly released Roxa palette, which I was told is to be pronounced Roxa, Portuguese for purple, but Natasha says Roxa, so I'll say Roxa just for consistency's sake, but I am aware of the Portuguese language and my poor attempt to say Roxa. Roxa. All that to say, if it's your first time here, hi, I'm Alicia and I love Natasha Denona palettes, and every time she releases a new midi, I am excited about it because I adore Natasha Denona's take on color stories, and I have an entire film dedicated to gushing over her Lila palette, which I think she released back in 2017. I can't remember the year she said in her IG stories, but I filmed an entire video covering why I think Lila is one of Natasha's best. And ever since she continued releasing new midi formats, remember family how I would always ask for a midi Lila palette, because we started to notice a trend where Natasha was reintroducing older palettes in the midi format, which we have seen from the previously released golden palette, reiteration from her original gold palette, which is a fan favorite, and now we have Roxa, which I think is Lila 2.0 in my opinion. The minute I saw this palette, I said that's Lila 2.0, and I said that in the comments as well. I know I usually like to do an overhead shot for my new palettes, but I just have to bring it in close here now family. Look how beautiful this is. Listen, this was an immediate yes. Sometimes I wait, I hesitate, I put it in the basket, I let it sit there. No. When I knew Roxa was coming out, I knew it had to be mine because, like I had said before, I've been dying for a Lila midi. This is the newer version of Lila palette, and I can place these side by side together quickly before I get into the palette details, because I'm sure you're dying to see any standout similarities, and I can immediately detect a few where Roxa is, for me, the love palette, a little bit of the love influence in here because of that red shade, or that more, I guess I would say this is more of like a magenta. But before we get into the swatches, the comparisons, and the demos, of course, this palette retails for $69. I ordered mine from the Sephora app. It was available, I believe it was available Friday morning, like at midnight, and I gotta give it to Sephora. I paid the extra $20 expedited shipping for an estimated arrival date for Monday. Today's Saturday. I am thoroughly happy I spent the extra $20 because yes, sometimes you have to put out for security of mind, and I rushed over here from Bay's house, came back home to film with this palette so I could get a head start on the editing in order to have it up at least, well, a Sunday upload will be pushing it, but I really wanted to have it up at latest Monday morning, and I'm thrilled and grateful for FedEx delivering this ahead of time in the estimated window they provided. So thank you Sephora, thank you FedEx, thank you $20 I spent, well worth it. And for other retailers, I believe this will be available early on the Natasha Denona site that I am an affiliate of. If you are a first-time purchaser on natashadenona.com, you can use the code Alicia15 for 15% off. If you would like to shop at Sephora, it is available now. Ulta, Beautylish, and other retailers you can find on the Natasha Denona IG story highlights for more details on that. And it is a limited edition palette like her previous releases around October. Xenon dropped around this time last year in October. That was limited. This is limited. I don't know, man. I know a lot of us are waiting. We're waiting because we don't know if it's something that it's worth buying, waiting for. If you have Ulta points, you can definitely score a discount there. You'll have to wait until November 1st or 5th, depending on where you are in the Rouge hierarchy of things, to get that 20% or 15% off the $69. And Beautylicious gift card event is arriving soon, and I'm working on that video. So you also have an opportunity if you wanted to spend $100, get $20 worth in Beautylish gift card money and apply it to the Roxa palette. That's another option. Just putting it out there, family. We got a lot going on in this holiday frenzy of things, but it is time to get into these swatches. Let me take off my I got a Garmin. I will speak about this in my upcoming October favorites. Spoiler alert, I love it. And look at the compact. I tried to find a nail polish that will match. So Off face value, it kind of matches, but the duochrome flip is different. This has more of a copper duochrome, and this has, just look at that turquoise flip on the violet backdrop, and pretty much mimics the same mold that you have in golden. I just think these palettes are gorgeous. I love how she committed to this design. And look, the back is like a burnished metallic. Oh, Roxa is rocking my heart. First up, we have Dixie, a crystal sparkling warm pink with blue and purple specks, beautifully smooth on the swatch, and I think will be gorgeous on either the entire lid or the inner corner. And we have a new formula in Roxa, what Natasha calls a silky matte, and this is because it is well known in the industry that purple mattes are dry and tough to work with and to blend on the eyes. So Natasha went back cooking in the lab and developed a silky matte formula. This is in Jacaranda, the medium dark violet. Oh, that's pretty. And the pickup is in, look at my fingertip. There's still a lot there on the skin. Reminds me of Dream in Love, and the matte in Love are a lot drier. I know that was one of the main critiques for that palette, but we still appreciate the Love palette. Oh, Flutter. We got a sparkling wet effect. This is in lilac pink, and I think we had a little bit of residue from Jacaranda, but you know, I think that is the true color of Flutter. And boy, oh boy, isn't that beautiful. And we'll get, you know, we'll get the hard light on the lids for the final look. Phoebe is a silky matte light lilac. Regal, a metallic vintage rose. Eclipse, a silky matte deep purple. That's incredible. Wow, the texture on these new silky mattes are fantastic. Stargirl is a sparkling foiled duochrome pink with a bronze champagne shift. I think you have to turn your arm or shine a hard light on there to see that shift, but I love the base of color. And I adore Natasha's sparkling foiled formula. Exquisite. Ooh, we have Bolt, this new swirly shade where I think Natasha mixed two sparkling foiled shades together. Sparkling foiled graphic design violet and silver. Ooh, that's pretty. I love that. And you can kind of, you know, if you want to steer it more silver or more violet, but I had to show you it fresh from the pan because now it looks all it looks muddied up. Heather is a silky matte medium dusty rose coral. Ceres is a silky matte medium dark muted fuchsia. Sweet Pea, a silky matte light medium warm lilac. Oh, that looks to be more pastel-y than this first lilac here. Nice dose of color. Concord is a sparkling foiled medium violet. Velour, a silky matte medium lilac. This was the light medium, and we got medium. That's Natasha for you. Brink is a sparkling foiled pink. And lastly, we have Orchid, a silky matte medium purple. So here are all the shades from Roxa. And I know some of you were being thrown off by these warmer shades, but I think because of the coral magenta nature of them, they tie in well. I get how maybe Natasha could have stuck with a more monochromatic story in inviting maybe a mauve instead of a coral, or mauve taupe instead of the magenta, but to stay true to what exists in Lila, because Lila, you have the magenta coral tones here existing in the palette, in addition to the lighter lilac and orchid shades and violet shades included. And I think the standout difference that you probably have noticed by now is knowing how we are in a new generation of Natasha Denona formulas, that the original Lila does not include the sparkling foiled or the wet effect formulas, which I think has been a hit in Natasha's eyeshadow palette portfolio. The amount of dazzle and sparkle they provide is just wonderful. And the highest amount of sparkle in Lila is what she calls the chroma formula, and this is Magnolia. It has beautiful shine, but it doesn't have the same sparkle effect as the wet effect or even the sparkling foiled. So let's get into the demo. I'm only doing two, I know, for time's sake, because today is a little short in terms of how much I have to get in, and I would like to get this video up as soon as possible. And I will film a dedicated video filming 6 looks different from the looks I'll have in this video, so we could get more ideas out there. And also I will love to read the comments to see if there are any special requests requests that I might have to address in that second video, so I hope you understand. And after we get into the demos, I'll get into a few comparisons and they'll wrap it up. Does that sound like a plan? Well, let's get the eyeshadows on the eyes. That's enough. We gotta get into these mattes because that is the standout formula that has debuted in Roxa, right? Because before, when Natasha called her mattes, she called them creamy mattes. They were powder mattes, but they were quite soft and smooth. But because of the pigments used to formulate purple shadows, the shadow overall can become quite dry. So I don't know how she cooked that up in the chem lab, but managed to at least make the texture feel incredibly soft and have a smooth application. But we gotta see how it does on the blendy blend, and for that I will be using my Refer shoulder brushes, as I think the brush's design will move the pigments quite nicely. Ooh, we gotta get this sticker off. But I don't want to use my nails because I just painted them. Starting off with Sweet Pea, as I want to steer the first look to be on the cooler violet side, and then we could venture into the warmer magenta side, because Sweet Pea is the light medium lilac. Velour is the, or I could do Velour. You know what? I'm going to start with Velour and lightly place that into the crease. Color payoff, fantastic. Pickup, great. I barely moved the brush. I love the color payoff. I think it's a beautiful setup for any of the darker violets here in the palette. That alone, listen, if you wanted to break this down right now, you could stick to Velour, and it actually shows up a little more color heavy on the blend on the lids, and slap on any of these metallic, sparkling effect, wet effects on the lid and be done. And you're done. Slap on the mascara, slap on the lashes, maybe go in with the wing liner if you like, if you want to take it there. The options are endless. Now with the clips, but you know what? I kind of want to see what Jacaranda is doing. I'm tapping, okay, on the outer V, and just rely on the formula to find its way. Don't want to over manipulate, because that's the point of having this formula, where it's not going to be as dry, so you don't have to go crazy with the brush strokes. Oh boy, that is consistent from what I see on the pan and now what's on the lid. Excellent. Oh boy, this is pretty. I actually want to go now in with Sweet Pea because I want to extend the gradient just a touch bit more so that we have a lighter color moving in towards the brow arch. Yes, and just to refine the edges of Jacaranda there. We're off to a good start, and I know I'm already starting from a biased perspective, because listen, you saw how excited I was in the comments when Natasha released the photos for Roxa, and how I've been asking for another Lila, okay, but in MIDI format, and it's right in front of me. What to go on the lid? I don't know. You know what? I think I'm gonna go in Flutter. Flutter has a lot going on, and I think it would just be stunning here on the lid. Flutter will be drier, and that's consistent with Natasha's wet effect, because I think the purpose of the wet effect is to be more sparkly and have like that glass look on the skin. But you know what? I feel like the wet effects in I Need a Nude and Golden have a little more grab to them. They have a little more tact, but as long as the dazzle is still there, okay, I'm fine. I'll shut up about it. Stargirl, this duochrome, or I have the list up here in front of me, a sparkling foiled duochrome, definitely now on the inner corner. This has a little more flake to it, but to have that, ooh yes, that duochrome spotlight effect for our highlight. Excellent move. Tapping that on the inner arc so we could get nice brightening there. And you know how I love to place an entirely different color here on the lower inner corner. And for that, I'll take Brink. Brink is the sparkling foiled pink. It almost looks neon. And to have that now here on the lower inner corner, I think just, it's a good move. You know what I'm saying? Taking a little more Jacaranda here on the lower lash line, connecting it to Brink and kind of whooshing everything together as I want those ends to extend. I am thoroughly impressed with this new Silky Matte formula. Wow. Wow. Okay, now, if you want to go coral, you most certainly can. I want to go with Ceres. Ceres is the magenta, but because it's in here with the Orchis and the Violet, it looks quite red, where, you know, if you were to go in with Love, Heartbeat or Heart, Heart is a red, right? Compared to what Ceres is giving. So I think if we apply it on the eyes, then we'll have a much better perspective in terms of how it's supposed to look compared to the other shades in here. That it's not going to look as red, or maybe it does since it's juxtaposed against the violet shades. But Natasha did have a magenta in Lila, except the magenta shade was not a matte, it was a metallic. But as I'm babbling on, that just, I mean, no trouble at all. The ease of pickup and blend is impeccable. This new Silky Matte formula might be, in terms of for these shades, it's just wonderful. And the color payoff is fantastic. It's not heavy at all. It's adjustable, right? You just have to be careful with how much you pick up and lay down on the lid. Ooh, I'll take a little bit of Heather, which is that coral shade, and I'll place it here on the inner part of the eye. I very much well could have relied on Heather to set up the gradient if you wanted something a little hardier, but I think you can see a little bit of that transition there close to the brow bone. On the lid, you know what? This is what I wanted to do. I'll go in with Bolt. This is the sparkling duochrome swirl shade, but to see how it will appear on top of the magenta, I think that truly will reveal the potential for Roxa, right? That you don't have to stick to magentas with the magentas and violets with the violets. You can have a lot of fun, and this is something I identified, and this is something I enjoyed with Yucca, right? Because you have the warm shades and the khaki olives and the mustards, cool and warm, and that one sparkling charcoal shade, it was like a charcoal khaki shade that you could pair with the orange matte, and it just looked stunning. That's what I'm talking about. Using my shader here to pick up a little more of Bolt, both the violet and the silver, just to envelop more of my lid here. You know, Bolt takeover. Oh, that's, look at that shine. You definitely can detect that silver. Yes, on the inner corner, ooh, Dixie. Dixie is the first shadow we swatched. This one right here, specifically the Crystal Sparkling warm pink with blue and purple specks. Let me toss it here on the inner part of the eye. Oh, that's lovely with Bolt. Yes, that's pretty. I like that a lot. If you want to see how Eclipse can do as a liner moment, you know I love my shadow liners. Eclipse is this shade here, the deep purple. Taking Sonia's smudger and stamping Eclipse along the lash line. Taking my time as I don't know if I want to wing it out, but knowing me, being consistent with the evidence, I tend to wing out because that's what naturally occurs. But I'm seeing if I could keep it a little tighter to the edge and just gently, ever so much wing it out, but have the majority of the color stay here on the lash line. For the lower inner corner, going in with Regal. Regal is the more basic metallic. I am scanning the shades here to get the color description. The metallic vintage rose is quite pretty, actually. This is Regal here. Yes, Regal is pretty. It might be basic compared to all the wet effects and sparkling foils in here, but to have a vintage rose, I think essential with the purple palette, you know what I mean, on the cooler side, 100%. And then going back in with Ceres here just for more, to cover more ground, if you will, on the lower lash line. I'm taking my Shoto 002 and whisking out that liner a little bit just so it could have a little more of that whoosh effect. Are we done? I think we're done. There's so much more I want to do, but again, I have to respect the schedule that I put myself in. And no, I will come back on here when I return home to produce more looks. You know how I like to function, fam. You know true looks is not enough for Alicia to do, okay? With that said, let me apply some lashes and I'll be right back. Here are the close-ups of our looks we did using Natasha Denona's Roxa palette, and it is a dream to use. And again, I started this video on cloud 9 already with high expectations, and they have been met and have been surpassed. I'm thrilled that Natasha redid her Lila palette just to reintroduce her newer formulas with those same or similar Lila shade. In terms of comparisons, standout ones I already mentioned. Again, we have the newer formulas now in Roxa, but also Roxa has 6 mattes. The new Silky Matte formula, my heavens, superb. Beautiful pickup with a brush, and the lay down is smooth, is even, takes no blending at all, and definitely I think Natasha successfully delivered that goal in now having these different iterations of purple in all of these mattes, because there are only 4 mattes in the original Lila palette. We have like the mauve, the wine, that in-between wine mauve, and here I could quickly swatch what those are. So Lila brought a little more like mauve, where Roxa brought more violet, and I think that's one of the main differences and why I have Viseart's Violette Entendu on standby, because if you are a lover of Viseart and you're like not too keen on Natasha Denona palettes, but you have Violette I think is a great stand-in for Roxa. You see, obviously the difference is that Violette is not going to have the coral and magenta mattes in here, nor will it have the warmer pink shades, but what it does have, that element of Lila, which I adore also, are these more mauve tones. That is more prominent in Violette Vespertine, right? This is the more muted version if you're more into this part of the violet spectrum. And it's funny that these 2 shades here from Violette is basically Bolt, right? Bolt is that silver and violet mixed together, and you got the violet and silver here in the Violette Entendu. Another standout difference is the formula. Again, Lila houses a lot of metallics, and funny, I think Natasha made some conversions where she took a few of the metallic shades from Lila and turned them into the silky matte shades for Roxa. And an example is this. If I were to pick up, let me see here, Amethyst. Amethyst is a metallic shade from the original Lila. Beautiful smooth formula. You could use this all over the eye or use it to blend out through the crease. And Jacaranda takes on a similar hue, although this is more violet, where this is more like violet periwinkle. And then you have Layla, which this is more of like a darkened eggplant, right? This is the coolest, I think, in Lila in terms of the purple, where the coolest, I wouldn't even consider this cool. Eclipse is the dark purple, and then you have Concord, which is more of a royal purple. So it really depends on where you sit. If you're watching this video, you saw the swatches, and despite how beautiful the wet effects are, despite how beautiful the sparkling foils are, you prefer Lila's original color story. And why I think this palette is just beautifully unique in that Natasha has the uncanny ability to expand upon one color concept in a way that you just didn't see coming. And I think that's why Lila just enchanted me then, and it still does now. Whereas with Roxa is a little more vibrant, in my opinion. It's not going to be as subdued, and to me is more straightforward. This is definitely a purple inspired palette with a little more punch, in my opinion. And again, I can understand why you would prefer the more subtle nature found in the original Lila palette. And many of you are far better in classifying shades than I am, but there's definitely more like lilac violet in Roxa, where in Lila there's a little more, like she got the gold in here. It's funny, Natasha put in the more gold here and the more like reddish magenta, where there's none of that in Roxa. Roxa, I guess, well, maybe to some, more monochromatic in that regard. And with the Love palette, the main difference for me is that the Love palette is mainly dominated by pinks, And then the purples play a minor role in the overall color concept because you only have the purples here on this side of the palette, and then it starts to converge here maybe with this middle shade, and then you get into the more medium pinks, the warmer pinks with the red tones. And I had love in my first Meta top 5 rank. This was included in that list. It's not included in the revised list, but I appreciate Love's attempt to embody pinks and purples, and I do believe it's consistent with the Love theme, right? We think Valentine's Day, it is, yes, mostly pink, but you still have the orchids and the violets in there and the magentas. I think Love beautifully captures that color concept. But if you wanted more violet from Love, then Roxa is your answer. And again, if you have Lila, you'll be happy with Lila. You're just not gonna get the sparkly Arcleys. Okay, that's the main difference. That's the main difference. You'll still have sheen, and it's not like these metallics are dull, right? They're not gonna have that same sparkly Arcley effect that you find in the new Roxa palette. Also know, if you have the Love palette I think has more sparkly moments in Lila, so you could dive into Love and maybe tap on Pure Love or even Passion, right? Pure Love has beautiful sparkle too, right? Compared to this magenta that I swatched from Lila, you're gonna get a little more sparkle from the Love palette. So you could skip Roxa, keep Love and Lila, and then mix and match as you like. And again, back to Violette. Violette has some moments too. I know it's not gonna be as powwow in your face, I'm swatching this one, as Natasha Denona, you know, but that ain't bad. That ain't bad. It's smaller, it's edited, it's also magnetic, okay? So if you need to, and this is a nail magnet wand, by the way, that I used in my I Need a Nude and Xenon Makeup by Mario Moonlight mashup video that you can mix and match with other palettes. But again, if you have Violette, you kind of have Roxa, just more edited. Violette's not going to have these shades here. There's not going to have the corals and the magentas. It's mainly dominated by the mauve, the rose, this more, well, how would you, I guess this is magenta? Maybe like a orchid magenta, an orchid magenta instead. But you have like the more muted taupe rose, you have that beautiful silver shade. You know what I mean? So these are our options. Okay, these are our options. I purchased Roxa because I've been wanting, like I had said before, a midi-sized Lila. I have it now. I am thrilled, but I understand how we are watching the budget. This is a limited palette. I do believe this will be better received than Xenon because Xenon was also limited, but it did not go anywhere fast, right? I don't even know, is it available in some, I think maybe only available on NatashaDenona.com and at other third-party retailers, but there is a chance that you can get Roxa down the line. It's hard to predict if it will sell out, but I know for sure that more people will buy Roxa over Xenon, in my opinion, especially if they don't have the original Lila, especially if they're not crazy about this original 15 pan format that's rather large. Now we have this smaller size. And is this in contention for best palette of 2024? I am hopping off the coattails of my video that I posted a few days ago where I presented Byredo's Mineralscapes and Danessa's Lightwork 6 as the main contenders for best eyeshadow palette of 2024. And I had mentioned in that video that if Natasha Denona released a palette within this time, would I consider it to be in the running? I do. Roxa is definitely up there. I will have to use all the palettes again and use Roxa more. This is a fresh first impressions. She just arrived like an hour and a half ago. I just slapped it on my eyes. I have to dive deeper into it. I have to come back on here again and film more looks. Everything checks off the boxes for me. The packaging, the concept, the formula is outstanding. This silky matte formula is just out of this world. It is fantastic. I can't wait for you to try it. If you ordered this palette already and you dipped into these shadows, please let me know down below what you think about the Silky Matte. That is it, family. I know I only did 2 looks, but again, I am in a tight time frame. I will come back on here and film more, and I will also share my thoughts about whether I think Roxa is in the running for best eyeshadow palette of 2024. It is. I just don't know if it can win against Mineralscapes. And I know Danessa has those beautiful multi-chromes, and the package is incredibly innovative and clever. But Mineralscapes just has my heart. I know. Am I revealing the winner already before that best of video? I even filmed it. Possibly. Anyway, we'll get back into the details soon. Just sit tight for another video. I would like to film a short with Roxa as well. But let me know down in those comments if you've already purchased it, if you're waiting on it. If you made it this far, please consider liking this video and definitely subscribe, because if you're looking to check out more looks from Roxa, you will definitely find them here. So consider subscribing to see more looks, not only from Natasha's palettes, but other palettes in my collection. With that said, I'll see you down in those comments, and I will see you on here again soon.